Well, what is this whole DC attorney thing about? What does he do? What kind of ugliness has taken place there? We figured, being as how we're doing a little special on all this, it'd probably be appropriate to bring in friend of the show and hardcore one of us, Ed Martin, Trump weaponization czar. And now what is this new thing? Associate Deputy Attorney General. I mean, I'm happy for him, but I wish he was there draining the swamp as U.S. Attorney in D.C. Ed, I'm going to get over my disappointment. Will you please explain what this D.C. attorney role actually is for stupid people like me who don't understand this DOJ court system? But what do they do there?
Well, first of all, Jesse, thank you to you and to your so many viewers and listeners who were great about fighting for me as we were going through this confirmation. Is great, and the process was the punishment, and here we are. And President Trump is good at this. He kind of turns it around. And so you mentioned, look, I have actually 3 hats to wear. Okay, so I've got this hat. It's called an ADAG. Associate Deputy Attorney General. And in the bureaucracy, that's actually a pretty cool spot. There's a lot of really talented people. The cool thing about it, Jesse, is everybody there is a Trump appointee and a hard-charging guy. And we work with like Emil Bove, who's been absolutely kicking tail. He's actually the first among equals. He's actually the principal associate deputy attorney general. And then it's a good gig, and everybody's got different areas that they take on. And some folks are looking at the cartels and things, and some are U.S. attorneys. My docket is this weaponization czar, this working group. President Trump, day one, said, get after weaponization. Pam Bondi on day one said, here's a list of some things to do. And this working group started. We've been in that. Jack Smith, Catholics being targeted, school boards targeting parents, a whole list. And so we're getting after it. And then the last thing I got put, though, Jesse, is this is for you, because I'm going to make a retroactive pardon of Jesse Kelly, all the crimes he committed when he was in the Marine Corps, mostly off base, obviously. He's pardoned. And I don't know if I have that authority. I've got to look closer at the law. But I mean, if Joe Biden could pardon everybody under the sun, why can't I go back in time to that time you left base? And like Don Imus, remember that Don Imus incident? I know that happened to you too. So anyway, but actually, you put these things together, Jesse, and we're running against the clock, okay? Running against the clock to expose the truth and hold people accountable. And I know people are frustrated at the speed. That I agree. You should be pissed. You should be honest all the time. But I'm in a position now and in the Department of Justice to go after the weaponization and to expose it and hold them accountable. And I wish it happened faster. I wish I stayed in my job as U.S. Attorney. But the president has let us loose on this. I have been let loose. I don't have to be confirmed ever again. I'm not going to do that. I have to do it because I couldn't get it done that time. And so here we go. And I think people are going to be happy with the results, and it's going to be important for the country.
No, I love it. And I am curious, with about 18 different titles, which one goes on the official government business card? You have to just pick the coolest one, right?
I think weaponization czar, because I got accused of all this Russia stuff. So I figured go right into it. And I tried, I walked into my house, I said to my wife, you have to call me General now, because Associate Deputy Attorney General. I said, General Martin. And she said, it's not going to happen. And I said, what about czar? And she said, well, maybe we'll try czar out and see. So, there's the business card, and then there's in your own home what you can get away with. And so far, czar is carrying the day. Now, pardon attorney, I do walk around the streets and I say, pardon me, just to get the people thinking about the pardon office.
I'm actually glad you brought that up for a couple of different reasons. One, I probably am going to need those pardons from my Marine Corps days, and I'll send you a list afterwards. It's going to be fairly extensive. But two, the Joe Biden pardons, they are on people's minds because it's obvious that it wasn't Joe Biden doing these things, record pardons of some of the most detestable scumbags we have in our country. And I'm not naive. I don't think those pardons are going to be undone, but is there anything that can be done?
Well, look, one thing is this. The pardon power is plenary. If people don't like it, we have to amend the Constitution. In other words, the pardon power is the president gets to pardon, and I think that's real. But it's a different question about the conduct, the way pardons were done. In other words, a pardon properly done is plenary, it's complete and all that. But if there was fraud involved, if there was something, a reason that it happened, that would be something you'd question. And we saw something that no one's ever seen. Look, Donald Trump has done historic stuff, and then people say we've never seen a president who tweets or does this, that, the other thing. What Joe Biden, the unprecedented nature of what he did, back in time, blanket pardons for any crime, 14 years, this is not normal. And he did it over areas that we see major questions. The pardons over COVID, blanket pardons over the COVID stuff. You know, again, at a certain point you say, might be plenary, might be allowed, but it looks like it's covering things up, right? It looks like we've got some conflict. So again, we are not supposed to be wimps. I know, Jesse, you know this. We're not supposed to be, silly about being soft. We should ask questions. If you do stuff that's unprecedented, we should ask questions. When the EPA transferred $6.7 billion with a B to a nonprofit that was created in the last year by 3 other nonprofits that are wholly subsidiaries of 3 other nonprofits, you say to yourself, largest transfer of wealth in the history of America to a nonprofit that looks like a shell set of companies. Is it criminal? Not sure yet, but we ought to ask questions. Same thing with the pardons, right? And so here's what we know. Under Joe Biden, we had the government used as a weapon to destroy our citizens in a way. This isn't politicization. This is weaponized against the citizens. And so we've got a responsibility. The president said, go and get it. And we're going to expose it. We're going to hold people accountable. And by the way, Jesse, and they don't want me to do this. They don't want me to say this next part. If you got taken to the woodshed by weaponization of the government, you should be healed. Now they're like, Thom Tillis said, are you for reparations? I said, I'm not for reparations. It's a stupid term that they use regarding slavery. What I am for is that the government destroys someone, they should have to clean it up. And it's not just Strzok and Page getting $1 million because Biden is in charge and they just want to pay them off. I'm talking about if you sit in jail for 3.5 years because Lisa Monaco lied and the 1512 charge was a lie, then you ought to probably be able to say, what can I do to figure out where, not just to get my life back, to get my life back together. I think that's real. And I think that the president is saying, hey, we're going to put it all together and try to make government trustworthy and do the right things. And that's what we're getting after.
I'm glad you brought that up too, Ed, because a lot of people did have their lives destroyed by that DC court system. And something that I found just so odd was Thom Tillis. Obviously, I'm not a fan, as everybody knows, but Thom Tillis cited January 6th and your position on it specifically as the reason why he didn't want you in there. He even said, well, I'd be fine if he was anywhere else except for DC. What in the world about January 6th stuck in his craw so badly that that's the reason we can't have Ed Martin here?
Well, I'll answer 2 ways, and I probably, again, I'm not good at this, Jesse. In terms of being politically correct or if I'm supposed to behave or something. But look, 2 things.
Good.
One, as a lawyer, as someone who cares about fighting, and I have to be a lawyer, fighting for people who are getting wronged, you're supposed to be allowed to do that. It doesn't mean that I agree with everything they said. It doesn't mean that I agree with everything everybody did. When someone punches a cop, you should get in trouble. You should be prosecuted. I got no problem with that. But the rest of this rhetoric about things, and what Thom Tillis and others often, when you listen to them, you say, you guys are subscribing to a reality I can't see. That looks like a hoax. And the hoax is that January 6th was everyone there was an insurrectionist that deserves to be judged as an insurrectionist. A, that's not America, and B, it's not true. And so I see these guys and they say, everybody who went in that Capitol deserves what they got. Well, as you know, Jesse, cops were, law enforcement was letting them in. They were welcoming them in. They were, you can't act like that, but they believe the hoax of January 6th. And why do they believe the hoax of January 6th? That's pretty easy. As soon as January 6th happened, the media spent hundreds of millions of dollars. Liz Cheney and her select committee spent hundreds of millions of dollars. The whole place spent hundreds of millions of dollars. People were tried and put in jail to say it was what they said it was. And it was a lie. And the fact is we broke through it and the lie is clear, but a whole lot of people are under the spell of the J6 hoax. And when you meet them, you're like, you can't be serious. And they are serious. We got to break the hoax, by the way, but we also have to not let the people that were destroyed and being damaged by the hoax damaged and one minute more.
And what is, I understand things take time, as you mentioned. Draining the swamp takes time. It took decades to get here. You can't clean it up overnight. So what is a realistic expectation from people watching, myself included, who want criminals inside of the government arrested? I'm thrilled with the newest cartel guy going to prison. Yeah, I mean, throw the pedophiles in the Pacific Ocean for all I care. All that stuff sounds great. But if people have committed crimes with either party for any reason with their government position, for me, that's as serious as any crime on the planet because you're taking a responsibility and you're abusing people's rights with it. But is it realistic to think we're going to see government people go to prison in the next 4 years?
Yeah, yes. The answer is yes. And here's what I'd say. Number one, everybody who's watching, and including you, Jesse, don't stop being pissed at the speed. We need to be faster. So don't stop, even at me, even at the good guys, right? And everybody. I agree with it because we're running against the clock. The clock is used against us. The Article 3 courts are used, they slow us down. And I can tell you, as a prosecutor, you're looking at this, you're saying, this case is going to take 18 months. And you're thinking, 18 months from now, how are we going to be able to win the battle for the future of the country? So be mad about the timing. I just would say this. I'm in this, and I'm not, I don't care about being spit at. I mean, it's last week, but I can tell you, I get threats against me and my family and all, and everybody does. It goes into this. And so at this level and where we are, it's worth it because it's now or never. I mean, Jesse, you've written a book on this. You do it all the time. It's now or never. And so, yes, we want to drag them out when they're bad guys in cuffs, but we also have to realize every day Todd Blanche is the real deal. That's the DAG. He's the real deal. All day long, he's looking at ways to get at these people. They try to destroy his client and him. He represented Trump. And so I guess trust me is one way to say it. But more importantly, look, Reagan said trust and verify about the Soviets. I say when it comes to government, all of you should distrust and verify. Distrust everything even we say and verify it. Make us show you what we're doing. But just remember, I think there's three parts of this. One is to name and shame. And I did a press conference. They said, you can't do that. And I said, watch me. Name and shame. I mean, these guys are scum. The guys like Brennan and Schiff, these people are destroying the country. Name and shame. And I know what you're going to say next. The next one, though, is hold them accountable. And we have to. We have to arrest people. We have to charge them. We have to have sophisticated trials. If it's got to be RICO, we've got to get there. And it has to come. I'm with you. But it's coming. It's not there. And then the last thing is we got to heal each other and the people that have been really damaged. That's, it's now or never for America. That's what's at stake. And all I can say is, I'll come on your show anytime you want, and I'll say to people, look, here's where we are. Here's what's going on. I got to tell you, like Bongino got in office, and when Bongino got in, I can tell you, the energy of the FBI, the urgency to start getting stuff done changed 100-fold. And every time I talk to him, he's on this stuff. So not fast enough, I get it. Everybody wants arrests. I'm just telling you, it's harder than you think to get control and to get these things going. You don't come in and go, you're all fired and let's go. It's treachery all the time. We're behind enemy lines, Jesse. It's like being in Vichy, France. And I'm a Jedburgh and Bongino's a Jedburgh. And we're signaling to each other, trying to fight through this. That's what it's like.
Ed, steak is on me next time I come to D.C. Very few people have an open invitation on this show, but General, since you're a general now, you most definitely do. I appreciate you very much. Talk soon, brother. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.